Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sal. It's Tuesday, March 12th. We got a 7-game slate in the NBA, and we're going to tackle it. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. I cover daily fantasy sports and pretty much all the big relevant sports, NFL, NBA, and probably what will be MLB pretty darn soon as they're in the spring training. But today, we got a 7-game slate in the NBA. Best slates are probably 7 or 8 game slates in my mind. I like to lean towards the 7-game slates. I had a couple of bad beats last night thanks to the late game hammer and Al Horford and Marcus Smart dudding in my lineup, completely dudding from there on a night where it was low cash line. So woke up to that, didn't really watch the game, and was pretty annoyed to see 14 points out of Marcus Smart when I didn't want to go off of him for Jaylen Brown right before bed, as it seems now in retrospect was the right decision. So yeah, that was last night. Not great. So, going to get back on the saddle today. I'd appreciate it right now if you could hit that like button. If you could just take 2 seconds, hit the like button. If you're subscribed and you haven't hit the notification bell, helps me a ton if you hit the notification bell. Lets you get notified when I'm releasing videos so you don't miss one on a day, or you just kind of get lost in all the other social media stuff. And then if you haven't subscribed and you're new here, which I think we're getting 20 or plus more people a day around there, depending on the day, welcome. My name is Sal, and I'm just trying to give you as much value as possible. It's like the third time I said my name. What the hell? I'm trying to give you as much value as possible, trying to start your days off, trying to do the work for you. I do this work on my own anyways, and I'm just trying to give it to you guys for free in value right here in these videos, just for your attention in return. Maybe a like, maybe a subscribe, all things that are free for you, and then maybe one day advertisers will pay me money to do this, so that'd be great. So what we do here is we're going to start like we always do, and quickly I just go through a quick rundown of just some things, especially if you're new. Hop in the Discord if you're not in there. I posted the injury sheet already so people get some early access. Target offense sheet goes in there, and it's just a free channel. It's like a group texting website or app, depending on which platform you want to use it on, or really which device. So yeah, get in there for sure. It's free. There's a lot of people in there. How many are there now? 294, so let's break 300 today, gang. And then Patreon, if you do want projections, they're over on Patreon for NBA, for FanDuel, and Draftkings. You can choose one, or you can choose both. So something like that, NBA projections, is probably a nice piece. It is a nice piece to the puzzle. Probably about 33% of what goes into my DFS game, night in and night out. Maybe even more for NBA, because it's a very projectable sport in terms of median projections. So definitely check those out if you're interested. The link's down below to the Patreon. So let's get this slate going. We're going to start like we always do with the injury news, and there's a decent amount of injury news for the 7-game slate, a decent amount of things that we have to watch out for, some things that we don't even have news on yet. So just starting, and this should be in alphabetical order, maybe it's not. We can get that in alphabetical order right now by team, so you can get a better landscape of what each team is working with today. So let's go by column B for team, and there we go. So, doubtful is Zach LaVine. He missed the last game, so this is going to give a couple of guys boosts. And the impacted players that I don't have here, I got to add one. So, Ryan Arcidiacono, he's going to be impacted. He's going to be starting at the point guard in a very favorable matchup against, or he'll be starting at the shooting guard most likely in a very favorable matchup against the Lakers. Chris Dunn will be starting at the point guard. Also has a favorable spot. Chris Dunn should see a guy who sees around 29 to 30 minutes a game, should maybe get a bump with LaVine out closer to 31 to 32. Wayne Selden, who got 28 minutes the last game LaVine was out, I have him in the projections right around there. Lauri Markkanen I have as impacted, but his impact pretty much comes from just production that LaVine's going to leave behind. Kevin Love will rest today. He was out. We got that news yesterday. Kevin Love out is going to open up some things, but we still have to wait. And the next guy's Larry Nance Jr. So he's questionable today. He missed the last game. So if Larry Nance is in, it's going to be a big bump for Larry Nance. Should see around 32 minutes. If he's out, it's going to be Ante Zizic, who saw his price reduced from yesterday to $3,700 on DK Draftkings. So Larry Nance Jr. Would be a nice play. Ante Zizic, if they're both in, I like both of them, especially Zizic at that price at $3,700, doesn't have to do a lot. Cedi Osman should also see a bump with Love out. Love, one of the most productive players on the team, if not the most productive. Osman, if Nance is out, might even draw a start at the 4, or David Nwaba could. So keep in mind a lot of those things. It's going to rely really on what this Larry Nance news is. Luka Doncic came in as questionable. If Luka is in, you pretty much chalk everything, but if he's out, it gives a big bump to Brunson, who's already seeing 30 to 31 minutes a game. What would increase for Brunson would then be his production. It's going to give a bump to Tim Hardaway Jr., and also Trey Burke might draw the start at the point, since Brunson's been starting at the 2. They've altered their lineup with Tim Hardaway at the 3. Trey Lyles doubtful, just secures some more minutes for Mason Plumlee and solidifies Paul Millsap closer to that 28 to 30 minute range. Tyreek Evans is off the injury report. He's probable, so it's going to impact Corey Joe. Corey Joe shouldn't see mid-20s in minutes. He'll be seeing low 20s now because of this. Kyle Kuzma is questionable. So for the Lakers, the only really impact here is Kyle Kuzma being questionable. Tyson Chandler, to an extent, if he's out, you might see Morris Wagner starting at the 4 once again, especially if anything happens with Kuzma being out. But Kuzma practiced, so I expect him to be leaning more towards probable, which would give a little bit of a dent to Josh Hart, but not too much since Ingram is still out. So yeah, Tyson Chandler news might affect Moritz Wagner. JaVale McGee just is not getting minutes out there. Wagner's been getting the minutes, and they want to play their young guys more is what they're saying. So expect more Wagner at a cheaper price. Could be an interesting play, especially if we get news that he is in the starting lineup again at only 3,300. Karl Anthony Towns is questionable, and so is Wiggins. Not really sure what to do here. I would imagine Towns plays today. If you've watched the Awesemo guys, they've mentioned, Josh Engelman has mentioned his incentives, that if he makes the All-NBA team, third team, all he has to do is third team center, third best center in the league pretty much, he'll get like a $5 million a year automatic increase. So that's something that he wants to get out there. The guy rarely misses games, missed a game because of a concussion earlier, his first one in however many games that he's played in the NBA, missed the last one. After that scary knee, what seemed like a scary knee injury or serious one. I would expect him to be back today. If not, Taj Gibson, whose price is now up to 5,600, almost hard to play him at that price, becomes relevant. Jeff Teague sees a boost because he'll have a higher assist rate, and so is Dario Saric at the 4. Rebounding rate would go up. Andrew Wiggins, if he's in, I like him. If not, Bates Diapo is in another good spot here, who's still relatively cheap, and also Jeff Teague becomes a better player or better spot as a pure scorer. Outside of that, Jimmy Butler, we got news yesterday that he's going to be out today, and James Ennis will likely start. Will also be a bump to J.J. Redick and Ben Simmons, pretty much all the other guards out there. Ben Simmons, all these guards have great matchups against Cleveland today, going up against Sexton, going up against Brandon Knight, Jordan Clarkson. They all have great matchups. Simmons probably the best one, but if James Ennis is going to come off the bench pretty cheap and maybe fill right in for 30 minutes, which is what I have him in for right now for Jimmy Butler, seems nice. Rudy Gay was ruled out yesterday. It's probably going to solidify the lineup that we've already been seeing with Jacob Paletto starting at the 5 and Aldridge starting at the 4. Aldridge coming off his maybe best game of the year, just a monster game. Bertan should also see more run at the 4 with Gay out once again. Evan Turner is questionable, and so is Rodney Hood. Both of these guys are out. It makes Mo Harkless an even better play. If one's in, dinks the other one if they're both in. But if one's in, that person will obviously get a boost. But Mo Harkless, the only really factor that's interesting here, if he is in and those other two guys are out, should see elevated minutes to the mid to upper 20s. So that's it for injury news. The main things to watch out for are Zach LaVine being questionable today. What is the status of Larry Nance? If he's in with Love out, I love Larry Nance. I would have him in for 32 minutes. If he's out, Ante Zizic becomes the only real big man there. So I would have him. I think he played 27 last night. I would have him closer to 30, which is not the greatest spot against Embiid, but 3,700 for 30 minutes is pretty good. And then other guys like Seti Osman become relevant. The status of Kyle Kuzma, I would like him if he's in. If he's out, it would make Moritz Wagner even a better play because you're just losing less power forwards, or you have less power forwards overall, and it makes sense to go back to that guy, that lineup with him at the 4. Wiggins in town, so there's a lot of things we're waiting on. About 4 or 5 main things. Before we go over to the target offense sheet, I want to quickly shout out Draft Dashboard. I will be on Sirius XM Radio this Friday evening, getting you guys the exact time. Probably today, I really should do that. Get you guys the exact time for that show today. I'll tweet it. I'll put it in the videos upcoming. And I'll basically just be covering the weekend slate. So Draft Dashboard is helping me. They helped me out to get that slot. So I want to just return the favor, do some little advertising here. So what Draft Dashboard is, it just reduces your research time. They have projections. They also just have all the stats that are easy to look at in one spot instead of going from 10 different websites. If you don't want to make your own spreadsheet, it's easy every single morning. They'll have ownership throughout the day. They have their value and projections. If you use some of my projections similar to that, usage rates, which is huge, and it factors all this into their projections. They give it an overall ranking, factoring in the defensive matchup and letting you know what they think about that player. They also have an NBA cheat sheet, which comes out later in the day. It pretty much just shows guys that are maybe value plays in certain price ranges and guys that you should be considering and looking at. You can make a watch players list by just targeting some players from the position optimizer, make your own little player pool. Then you can line up, optimize, and just get certain players into lineups that you really want. Guys from your player pool, you could lock them in so that they're automatically in there. And then you could set some different priorities in their mass lineup generator if you're entering a lot of lineups in a GPP. So you can check out Draft Dashboard. 30 days for $1 down below, so it's like 3 cents a day if you want to try it out. But yeah, it's a nice way to reduce your research time. I personally use it. House my player pool there sometimes, but I like to use it to reference some of my projections and just see what they have going on. So that's draft dashboard. Let's go over to target offense sheet now. Make this a little bit bigger so we have... There we go. So the target offense sheet, and I could probably even make it a little bit bigger. Cover the whole screen. Perfect. 116. There we go. So target offense sheet, 7 games, 14 teams playing today. What you're looking at here is pretty much just where these teams are in terms of the spot, the game pace, which is just how many possessions I project for the game, where they are in terms of the overall total. Vegas is totals, over-unders, and then where each player is on that team, how a team defends a specific position is what you're seeing over here over the last 30 days. Green means better, so it's broken up by position, so it's not the whole range. So you're going to see higher numbers be, or lower numbers might be green for one position but red for another. It's because that's just what the range of outcomes is. Centers are always going to score more points. You'll see them just having more points. So will power forwards just normally because they have more opportunities to score. A shooting guard's not going to score as many points as a center throughout the entire year. Centers, that's why we like to get as many in our lineups, because they have more opportunities to score, double-double, easier rebounds, blocks, whatever it might be, closer to the rim baskets. So possessions, just for people that are new, is just as pace just means possessions per team. So this game is projecting each team to have around 100 possessions, which is actually low. The league average is right around 102.5 right now, which is really fast. League average used to be around 100. The game is increasing in speed. That's why you're seeing higher DFS scores. There's more possessions per game, which means more overall points, more overall Draftkings scoring. And right now the league average is 102.5, and you can see right here there's a couple of games that are over it, but overall right now we're not having that many high-paced games. Usually we see a decent amount of them over the average each night, especially on a 7-game slate. We're only seeing 3 over the average right now, so a lot of paced down spots, a lot of slow teams playing on this slate. The obvious one that stands out to me in terms of pace and total is New Orleans against Milwaukee. 2 faster paced teams. The pace is around 107, closer to 108. Anytime it gets above 105, it's something that I like to look at. Anytime it gets above 107, it's very interesting. Highest total on the slate, that's usually what you'll see if there's such a high pace. 237.5. A spread of 9.5 favored was Milwaukee here. Anthony Davis likely just to play 20 minutes once again. Drew Holiday remains out. Etuan Moore likely remains out. So you're going to get Elfrid Payton, who's at an elevated price point, who also isn't in the greatest matchup against Eric Bledsoe today, but still viable. Frank Jackson's price comes up to $5,100. I believe $900 more than the last time he was out there. Also not a great matchup. Going to be going up against Brogdon, a pretty nice defender in himself. So yeah, you will see a decent matchup, at least in terms of what this target offense is showing for New Orleans is Kendrick Williams. If he remains starting at the 3, should see around 30 minutes today, priced at $5,000. I think he's definitely viable. And then on the Milwaukee side, I mean, everybody becomes in play. New Orleans is a place to attack with bigs. Brook Lopez, I was going to say Brook Holiday. Brook Lopez has been seeing 30-plus minutes regularly now, and that's something that we like. He was only seeing 27, 28, and he wasn't getting there most of the time. He's been playing really well. Ivan right now is at 30.5 minutes for today's game, and he has the second best matchup, one of the best matchups on the slate at this position. I like him. Giannis is obviously interesting to me, has a great matchup, high pace, most expensive guy in the slate though, and it all reflects that. Chris Middleton, $7,000, still seems a little bit too expensive for me. I liked him better when he was in the 6,600 range, but he has a great matchup and he's in a great spot overall. Other spots to look at and consider, just Portland against the Clippers. You could attack the Clippers the same way. Obviously, Boston didn't do it last night, but you could attack them the same exact way that you attack New Orleans with the bigs. So for Portland, Aminu becomes interesting. He's pretty much dust, but the guy that I like is Yusuf Nurkic. Best matchup on the slate in terms of what the Clippers give up to this position. So I do like that a lot. Outside of that, just spots to target. Usually you can target the Lakers with bigs, so Laurie becomes interesting. Robin Lopez, he should be seeing 30 minutes still, 32 minutes. I think I have him in for 32 right now, maybe even 33 in the projections. Which again, if you want those, just head over to Patreon. So yeah, that's what we're looking at right now in terms of the bigs, in terms of where to target with your centers. For point guards, Ben Simmons, we already mentioned against Cleveland, is in a nice spot. The best spot on the overall slate right now for point guards is Chris Dunn against the Lakers. You're going to get a pace-up spot here. A nice total. You're going to get no Zach LaVine, so production is probably going to siphon off to other spots in this game, so it's going to be interesting to take advantage of where it will go. I imagine it's going to be going to Lauri Markkanen, maybe some Wayne Selden, and mainly Chris Dunn. I don't think Ryan Arcianato provides too much production. If he's going to be seeing 30 minutes, it becomes interesting at his price. But I think Chris Dunn is cheap enough to where the matchup warrants him to be a very interesting play today. Dallas, I do like Luka if he plays against San Antonio, who I think has the dead last defense since the beginning of the year. So I like Dwight Powell. I like Luka. I even like Brunson, who's still cheap. And then if Luka is for some reason out, it makes me like Brunson that much more. Tim Hardaway Jr., too scoring dependent for me, especially since moving to the 3, which is actually a bonus for most guys, but his minutes have gone down because Brunson's have elevated at the 2, and then the rotation just gets thrown off for him. Minutes have gone down from 32 to 29, around that range, even less at points. So I do like pretty much Brunson, Luka. In this order, it's going to be Luka, Powell, Brunson. If Luka is out, as of right now, it's going to be Brunson, and then Powell, and then probably really nobody else. Maybe Dorian Finney-Smith, who remains cheap and still seeing around 27 plus minutes. Outside of that, you guys can just check this sheet out. The first game is really not looking great to me. I mean, you look at the total, a 212 total. It's New York. You really can't judge them. Mitchell Robinson saw 33 minutes last game when DeAndre Jordan came in and saw like 20. Or not even, might have been like 18, I don't even remember. But I know Mitch Robinson saw 33, so that's how it should be, but we're not sure if that's going to be consistent. I don't know if there was foul trouble on DJ. We could actually look at this. So DeAndre Jordan last game came in and he had 15 minutes. So yeah, personal fouls 1. Yeah, so no, they pretty much just rode the Mitchell Robinson kid out as they should. A better player, younger guy. Season is pretty much as it is over. So yeah, not much in this game. I mean, the Indy side, Bojan is an interesting play. Wes Matthews has the best matchups. The Knicks struggle against the three-point line. They struggle against defending shooters, but Wes Matthews 4,500, ceiling capped. Floor unstable, a very risky play, at least for cash. This game really shouldn't stay close either. There's just not a lot to like here. 100 pace, pretty dreadful. Second slowest pace on the slate. And overall, just every single player on these teams, I'm not really interested in. Noah Vonleh, minutes have been up, but I don't know how stable that is. If you started at the 4, Noah Vonleh would be in a nice matchup. If Mario Hezonja is out today, it becomes a little bit better for Noah Vonleh. But again, could easily go back to 17 minutes. It's pretty hard to tell with this New York rotation. So that's the target offense sheet. Let's go over to my early interest, which I'll be honest with you, made this, and there's a lot today actually, but I made this in about, so these are just guys I'm interested in, not picks. It's way too early. I haven't even really digested this slate. Some things aren't popping. This projected total isn't, but that's fine. Yeah, well, that's fine. They should stay the same. Good. So yeah, for this slate, haven't really looked too much, just kind of literally went down through the injury dashboard and also through the target offense sheet, and then just went down Draftkings, looked at any price differences that were interesting. I just listed people who stuck out to me as interesting, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Quickly gloss over some of them. Joel Embiid right now is my second highest projected player on the slate, and based on his price, that makes him a very good bargain. Only behind Giannis. I think I've been projected for around 56 points today. Yeah, good matchup against Cleveland. If this game stays relatively close, without Love, it might be difficult. But he's going to be going up against Ante Zizic most likely. Even if Larry Nance starts, it'll probably be at the 4. So yeah, I think that maybe not actually. He might start at the 5. We'll have to see. So that's a big news still for especially not only those guys, but also Joel Embiid. But either way, great spot for Joel Embiid. Yusuf Nurkic. One of my favorite plays in terms of value, 7,100, going to be going up against the Clippers. You can get what you want against Zubac. You can get what you want against Harrell. Nurkic is in a good spot, although value in chalk Nurkic usually has been failing as of late. Ben Simmons, I already said that I like. James Ennis filling in for Butler. I said that I like. Have him in for 30 minutes right now. Pretty bad point per minute guy at 0.64. You can see right here, but might have to adjust some of those things. Based on the fact that he's not playing with James Harden anymore and he's not playing with Chris Paul anymore over in Houston. He is coming to a team, though, that does have usage monsters in Ben Simmons, in Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, so might not change it too much. Chris Dunn, I already said that I like him. Very good value today at 5,200 going up against the Lakers. High-paced game, and without, most likely, Zach LaVine, it's pretty nice. Ryan Arcianato becomes interesting only because of his price and because he should be drawing the start in place of Zach LaVine. Not much upside there. I mean, a 0.66 point per minute guy on the year. That gets elevated a little bit when he goes into the starting lineup without LaVine. I would imagine, I haven't actually checked that, but not too much here that I'm interested in outside of the price. Luka, very interested in. Brunson and Dwight Powell. I mean, I listed them right there. Pretty much the order would be for me if Luka plays is Luka, Dwight Powell, and Brunson. Brunson's price comes up a little bit, making it harder to stomach him if Luka plays. But again, going to see 31 minutes today. I have him in for the projections. Good spot. Brook Lopez, very good spot, 5,800 at the center. If he was power forward center eligible, it'd be even better. He is a stretch center, so I feel like he should be a power forward eligible as well. But comes in as a center. Comes in as a nice value on this slate in that big pace-up spot where you're trying to get as many players from that game if you're stacking it, or just, I mean, in general, it's by far the best spot in terms of pace and total. Trying to get players in that game, he's a nice cheaper option who's going to get those minutes. Thad Young, interesting play against New York. Good matchup against New York, whoever's going to be out there. Robin Lopez, 5,700. At this point, I'd rather pay the extra 100 for his brother Brook. I mean, they're in the same price range, just because I think Brook's a little bit more productive, obviously in the better spot overall, and probably in the better offense. Robin Lopez maybe sees a production bump without Zach LaVine in there, but I haven't NBA wowied any of that. Chris Middleton mentioned that he's a little bit expensive, but still in a good spot, still a piece of that game that I would like to try and get to. Rondo's prices come up, but should still see around 34 minutes. If Kuzma is out, which I don't imagine, he's questionable right now, but I don't imagine since he practiced. But if Kuzma was to be out, I mean, Rondo becomes even better. But at 6,800, you get to see 34 minutes starting point guard in that spot. I do like it. Jamal Murray, 6,300. Haven't heard his name in a while. Matchups against the Minnesota guards is usually good, especially if Jeff Teague is in over Tyus Jones. Jones a little bit of a better defender there. So Jamal Williams, 6,300. Hard to really stomach most of the time because the floor is not as stable, ceiling not as high with guys, with Paul Millsap's emergence the last 2 to 3 weeks with Nurkic or Jokic out there. But Murray at 6,300 is fine. Giannis, obviously, always interested. I will be very interested at $5,500 Larry Nance if he's starting today. If he's playing today, if he's starting, and he gets to start at the 5, he's probably my favorite play on the slate. Cedi Osman, I love at 5,200. Price only comes up $200. Should see 34 minutes. I have him in right now. Ante Zizic price reduces if Nance is out. One of the best plays on the slate because of his price and because of the minutes, probably locked in around 30. Kyle Kuzma, 6,400 is interesting. Damian Dotson, 4,900. Been seeing 30-plus minutes as he should in this Knicks rotation. Came through in the last game pretty big, 4% owned in the big tournament. Had him in one lineup, scored like 47 points. Don't expect that again, but 4,900, I think he's in a pretty, or probably the only guy from the Knicks side that I'd be actually willing to play because of his price, because of his minutes, and just the upside that he has there. He will try and control the ball, or kind of control the offense and make his own shot. So that's what you're looking at here. If you want the projections, this is what they look like. They factor in a lot of things, and I'll be adding more to them. I'll just slide over to that page without showing the points. They factor in a lot of things, points per minute. I adjust these throughout the day so that it takes into account if guys are off the court, things like that. Salary, target value, which is for me 4x plus 10. Had this conversation in Discord. People saying using 5x, which used to be okay, but now it's not, because if you use 5x for your average salary, $6,250 for average player, you're getting 250 points, which isn't that great. If you're using 5x for some value plays, like say a $4,000 play, that means if he gets you 20, he's paying it off for you, which in a tournament, he's definitely not. And in cash, that's probably going to hurt you as well, especially if two guys are doing that. So say take that same $4,000 player, you do 4x plus 10, so 4 times 4 for the 4x is 16, and then plus 10 is 26. If you're getting 26 out of a 4K player in cash, it's a lot more digestible and it'll work better as opposed to 20. Same for tournaments. So I like to use 4x plus 10 for median projections for cash. In tournaments, I like to use 6x, if anybody was wondering. Usage rates are in here. Change those as people are in and out. Minutes per game on the season average, and then I do minutes projections, use some sites as well as mine. The team, the opponent, defense versus position is a ratio, that an algorithm that I pretty much pull based on how a team defends a specific position, like you saw earlier, against the league average. Game pace, just some other things in here, and then it gets to the projected points and the value. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out. Lastly, again, that's over on Patreon. Hit up the Discord. People are already chatting in there. Yeah, talking about LaVine. People chatting in there, so get in there. And then lastly, Draft Dashboard, like I said, just to reduce your research time, 30 days for $1 down below. You can use their optimizer, check out their cheat sheet, whatever you got to do. 30 days, 3 cents a day. Check it out if you want. If not, no big deal. My name's Sal. You already know that. Peace out and best of luck.